Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is day 102 of TowerGate, June the 14th, 2017, Tuesday. Boy oh boy, a lot to get to today. Oh boy. Okay, as I said yesterday, there's been quite a few things I've been working on that I just haven't had time to get to. So tonight I want to try to get through these things, so I may go a little quickly here, but some of these things are just piling up and we need to talk about them just for a few minutes. Of course, we'll start with something I've been working on over the past week or so, and now looking into the background of Mr. Christopher Wray, the new FBI director that Trump has recently appointed. Of course, he will have to go through a confirmation process in the Senate, but it's very likely that Mr. Wray will be approved and he'll become the new CIA director. So, let's take a look at Mr. Wray's bio. Christopher Wray was the Assistant Attorney General under John Ashcroft during the George W. Bush administration, 2003 to 2005. He was unanimously confirmed by the Senate for that particular position, and he was in charge of the Department of Justice Criminal Division while serving as Assistant Attorney General. He worked under Comey. That's right, he worked under James Comey at the Justice Department in 2004, along with James Comey's very good longtime friend and associate, Robert Mueller, who was also a former FBI director. Christopher Wray was also in charge of the Department of Justice Enron Task Force. That's right, he was on part of that task force that made sure to protect a lot of the criminals who should have went to jail in Enron. They got Skilling, and they got the other guy, they got the two guys, but all the politicians and all their corrupt friends, they walked. Yes, they did. You know, the Bushes were very, Jeb Bush, and one of the other Bush brothers were involved in the criminal activity going on there with Enron, as well as Karl Rove and some other people that were close to the Bushes. But of course, they all walked. And Mr. Skilling became the scapegoat. But you can bet that these criminal politicians, the Bushes and all their friends, they all knew exactly what was going on at Enron. And of course, Mr. Wray, along with his friends, Robert Mueller and James Comey, made sure that the criminals in the District of Criminals walked scot-free, and they got their scapegoat. For the past few years, Mr. Wray has been at one of the most prestigious law firms in the country, King and Spalding. And he is known to be and believed to be by many lawyers across the country, according to law journals, is one of the top lawyers in the country. He was also the lawyer for Chris Christie, who defended Chris Christie in his Bridgegate controversy, which of course Christie got off the hook on that. Not really sure if he was involved in that or how involved he was, but obviously he got off, and Christopher Wray was his lawyer. So anyhow, I'm sure he'll be questioned on that in the Senate hearings about his relationship with Chris Christie and his defending Chris Christie in the Bridgegate scandal. He, of course, went to Yale. That's right, he went to Yale. That's right, with all the Bushes and all their friends, the good old Skull and Bones Club. Wouldn't you know it? You know, so when I look at this, now I know Trump met with this guy, Christopher Wray, and I assume that there's people around Donald Trump that keep telling him, hey, this is a good guy, this is a guy, this is a guy, hey, you should bring in this guy, McMaster, blah, blah, blah. All these people that we find that are stabbing Trump in the back are all people he were told would be good people to bring in. I wish to God I was in Washington, D.C., advising Donald Trump on who and who not to bring into his administration, because to me, Christopher Wray looks like he's awfully closely associated with the deep state, with the swamp monsters himself. He's good buddies with Mueller. He's good buddies with the Bushes, obviously. He's good buddies with James Comey. and he appears to be part of the swamp. He's probably skull and bones, went to Yale. He runs with the my dad used to always say, birds of a feather flock together. And if you look at the particular group of birds that Mr. Ray has been flocking with, and they've been doing a lot of flocking, they've been flocking a lot of people, they've been flocking all of us, and so it appears that Mr. Ray has enjoyed a career of frolicking with these criminals of the deep state. So I would not be very supportive of him as FBI director. He'll probably turn around and stab Trump in the back as well. But for whatever reason, Donald Trump has decided that this is his guy. So we'll see how that works out. And hopefully I am wrong, and hopefully he turns out to be a good man. But based on his bio, I would certainly be very skeptical. Okay, so that's Christopher Wray, the new FBI director. Next, James Comey. You know, after he had this hearing last week, and we all saw the hearing which he did publicly, there was another hearing that we didn't hear very much about. But Circa News is certainly being reporting on it. Sarah Carter, once again, doing an outstanding job, reported in a story that broke this morning. I saw it on Breitbart. There's other sites covering this as well. She has some pretty good sources. And she says that after the open hearings that we all watched, where Comey admitted the various crimes, he apparently had a closed-door session afterwards where he went into a little bit more detail. And one of the things he went into a little bit more detail about was he was asked a little bit more about this situation with Loretta Lynch, where, as we all know, she suggested to him that he should change the characterization of what he was doing regarding Hillary's emails as a matter, a little matter, and not to use the word investigation or probe. But as it turns out, James Comey revealed in these closed sessions, after the open sessions we all saw, he revealed at this point that there was a second meeting that he had with Loretta Lynch. He didn't mention that in the open hearings that we saw, did he? You know why? Let me tell you why. Because in this second meeting that he had with Loretta Lynch, he says that he brought to her attention a document which showed communications between two political figures, well-known, high-placed political figures, which suggested that Lynch had put the kibosh on any prosecution of Clinton. And James Comey gave this written communication. It was a memorandum which he gave to Lynch and said, "Here, I think you need to see this." And upon reading it, Comey says that she very coldly, he said the room went very cold, and she looked at him very steely-eyed and stared at him for a very uncomfortable amount of time, and then she just said to him, "If there's nothing more, then you can go ahead and leave." He said it was a very uncomfortable moment. So he's basically saying that there was a second follow-up meeting where after Loretta Lynch told him not to use the word probe or investigation in regards to the investigation going on with Hillary Clinton's emails, and she told him to back off that, then he gets his hands on some sort of a note or memorandum or something, which is a communication between two high-level political figures, and their communication, their discussion is suggesting that Lynch had already put the kibosh on any prosecution of Clinton. And James Comey gave this to Loretta Lynch, and her reply was to basically say nothing other than to look at him very steely-eyed after an uncomfortable period of time of her just staring at him. And then she just said, "Well, if you have nothing more, then you can go ahead and leave." And she basically threw him out of the office. He didn't mention that in the open hearings, did he? Well, he certainly mentioned it in the closed session after that session we all saw. And that someone who was in that particular meeting with James Comey, that closed session, has now, I guess, leaked this to Sarah Carter of Circa News. My. You know, when this reality winner thing broke, again, this is another one of the things I've been investigating and researching for myself. I have quite a bit more information I'm going to give you now, just because I want to give you the quick story as I dig more into this. But you know, when I started looking into this reality winner, I thought, you know, there's got to be more to this than you know. You take a look at this company she worked for. They're an international company that specializes in intelligence, counterintelligence, and they're a private company. They're not affiliated with the government, but they're in the intelligence business, giving intelligence advice, counterintelligence, counterterrorism, things like that to private clients. And here they have all these interactions and connections to all these foreign countries, especially a lot of Muslim countries. You have this girl here, reality winner, who speaks 4 different languages, Farsi style languages, Arab languages, which is why they were so interested in her, because that has a lot to do with what they do. And we know that there's been this flare-up lately with the government of Qatar, and I'm looking more into that. This thing is pretty complex. But just to give you the short story, I began looking into this company she works for, Pluribus International. As it turns out, Pluribus International says on their website that they help clients with intelligence, counterintelligence, and counterterrorism. This company was started by a man named Nathan McCary, M-C-C-A-R-R-Y. His father was Charles McCary. Some of you may not be familiar with him. He's not a household word, name, figure, but the old Soviet Union certainly knew all about Mr. McCary, because he had a name that they called him in the intelligence business in the former Soviet Union. He was known as the Black Hammer. He was a professional CIA assassin. He assassinated people for the CIA, and he's deep ties to the deep state. He's been involved in intelligence operations for a lot of his life. He writes these novels that are mystery novels that are supposedly fantasy or what have you, but they sound, according to a lot of people, an awful lot like actual events. So he has the right background to write these types of books, and it's believed that some of the things that he writes about actually happened, but he passes them off as fantasy. So this company that Reality Winner is working for is owned by a man who's kind of creepy, whose father was a CIA assassin who was very well known by the former Soviet Union, the KGB, as being one of the CIA's top hitmen, who they called Black Hammer, responsible for assassinating many of their agents and other people, I'm sure, as well. He's known to be pretty much of a lefty, probably anti-Trump, obviously, because we can look at the tweets and we can look at the organization and who they're associated with, and we can look at what Reality Winner was typing on her Facebook pages in some of the groups that she belonged to. Pretty obvious that she was a Trump hater, but also she had been working for Pluribus International. One of the things that she was doing was that she had gone to one of these dark sites, which was run by a man out of Qatar who was a real Trump hater and who actually is alleged to have put together a $150 million bounty on Trump's head. And a lot of this conversation about this particular assassination was being monitored by the intelligence agencies. So they were watching. That's one of the ways and one of the things that turned them on to Reality Winner. They're watching this communication. They're pretty aware of what it's all about. And they're aware of some of the people who are involved in this chat back and forth. And it turns out that Reality Winner is posing on as an anonymous individual on this dark site, apparently as part of her job at Pluribus International, and she's having these conversations on a site which appears to be offering a bounty on the head of the president. Maybe this is why she drew so much attention to herself, and maybe this so-called leak is maybe just an incidental thing that happened, but was the reason that they used to arrest her, because they didn't want to come out and talk about the real reason that they arrested her and what's really going on even deeper and darker behind the scenes. And of course we all know what's going on right now with Qatar, or Qatar, or however you want to pronounce it. Some very, very shady dealings going on, my friends. Very shady dealings. There's much more to this reality winner, to Pluribus International, and to the McCarrys, and to the government of Qatar, and whoever this individual is, who they know. They know who it is. They know the name of the individual. He's got about 9 different names. A couple of them are Muhammad. So, anyway, yes, they're obviously on to something. Now, let's talk about Jeff Sessions before I go. As you know, yesterday I mentioned that I'm no fan of Jeff Sessions. I don't think Jeff Sessions is a bad guy. I think it's wonderful that he came out and endorsed Donald Trump. I think it's great that he's been there to support him. My issue is that, well, he kind of looks like a Cabbage Patch Kid, but that's okay. If he were tough and mean, I would be okay. I just don't think he's the right man for the job. Right now, what bothers me is that it's pretty obvious what is going on. And I find it hard to believe that Jeff Sessions can be that naive to sit there and go through these hearings, to sit there as Attorney General and just let all this stuff happen while he does practically nothing. It's pretty obvious to me that there is a major coordinated effort on the part of the deep state and all those that are associated with them, first to destroy the candidacy of President Trump, and now to destroy his presidency. They couldn't beat him at the ballot box, so then they came up with the Russia narrative, which is garbage. They obviously, all the hearings and all the pressure on the intelligence agencies and the FBI, they still couldn't produce anything of any value. And so now they've moved to taken their next move, which is to appoint a special prosecutor. And we know that special prosecutor, Mueller, is a very integral part of the deep state and a very close associate of James Comey, a very good friend of James Comey, a bosom buddy. We also know that he's beginning to outfit his team with a bunch of people who overwhelmingly donated lots of money to Hillary Clinton, who are probably Trump haters. So now Mr. Mueller and his Trump-hating team are going to be investigating Donald Trump some more over absolutely nothing. The fact that Jeff Sessions allows this entire dog and pony show to play itself out is, to me, unacceptable. I think today in his opening statement he should have come out and said exactly this. He should have said, I'm here today to answer these questions, but I can tell you that this whole thing is a complete ruse. This is nothing more than the Democrats' butthurt because they lost the election. They're looking for some reason to put the blame on someone else. So they come up with this Russian hacking narrative, which has not really even been proven. This Russia collusion, or that I'm colluding with Russians or anything like this. This is just a bunch of smoke and mirrors. It's a bunch of butthurt Democrats who can't accept the fact that they lost the election, and so they've decided to spend the next 4 years doing everything they can to destroy the candidacy, the presidency, and the character of the president, and taking the damn country down with him if that's what it takes in order for them to get their way. This is kind of what Jeff Sessions should have said, and he should never have sat there in that hearing and let that twit Kamala Harris, Senator Kamala Harris, badger him the way she did. She talked to him like she was his mother, scolding him. I never would have put up with that. Never. I would have called Kamala Harris out. I would have locked her heels. I would have made sure that she changed her tone. I would have told her, hey, excuse me, Senator Harris, change your tone, okay? Believe me, I would not have put up with that. Would not have. Especially from Kamala Harris. Let's talk about her for just a moment. She's a former Attorney General of California. She was heavily investigated by the California Judges Association because while serving as the Assistant Attorney General and then Attorney General, she had been called out for prosecutorial misconduct. She sought convictions on 3 capital crimes, murder cases, where she knew that the prosecutors under her were lying. They were basically, there was a frame-up going on here. She was called out for her misconduct for prosecuting cases where she knew there were false confessions, perjury, evidence withheld, as well as knowing that the Cali Crime Lab was compromised by corruption and incompetency. She was aware of every bit of this. Yet, she continued to push these cases and even bring them to conclusion as far as finding 3 of these people, putting 3 of these people in jail, knowing good and well that their cases were complete frauds. She was called out for this and got into quite a bit of trouble for it. Also, since she's been running for political office, she's claimed that she's Jamaican, Asian, Indian, and African American. Take your pick. Depends on who she's talking to. Depends on what her ethnicity is. She, of course, failed the California bar exam when she first took the California bar exam, but claims to be this fantastic lawyer. Kamala Harris is a hack and a thug. And the way that she was talking to Jeff Sessions, the fact that he sat there and tolerated that was absolutely disgusting. I was pulling my hair out. I couldn't believe it. I never would have let her talk to me that way, I can assure you. I would have called her out. Big time. And this is what bothers me about Jeff Sessions. He's just not tough enough. My friends, they do not call it the swamp for nothing. They do not call them the swamp monsters for nothing. These are nasty, nasty people. We can see what the types of things that they will do. If you question what kinds of things that these people will do, just take a look at that video from November 22nd, 1963 of President Kennedy taking a limo ride through Dealey Plaza. And you'll get some refreshment of your memory of exactly what type of people we are talking about. That's who we're up against. They will stop at nothing to destroy President Trump. And Jeff Sessions should know that. He can't possibly be that naive, but he appears to be ineffective, weak. He just doesn't. I mean, he should be going on offense. You know, we've been on defense for a long time. This whole Russia narrative, Russia collusion, this is all BS, and he knows it. What he should do is he should go hardcore on offense. He is the Attorney General. He can launch all sorts of investigations. He can appoint special prosecutors himself. The very first thing he should do, and what he should have done, as I said yesterday after his hearings today, is he should have went up to the podium and announced that he was firing Mr. Mueller, mainly because of the people he's putting on his team are clearly biased people. He is a biased man. Are we supposed to expect that Mr. Mueller is going to look into Mr. Comey's criminal activities? They're very, very good friends and associates. Are we supposed to believe that he's going to look into the illegal surveillance, knowing good and well that while FBI director, he engaged himself in quite a bit of illegal surveillance? And we know that on them 47 hard drives from Mr. Montgomery, that goes back to, all the way back to the years in the Bush administration when Mr. Mueller was the CIA director. What's he going to do? Incriminate himself? Is he going to file charges against himself? Is he going to put himself in front of the judge and the jury for the illegal activities he was involved in during the Bush years as FBI director? I don't think so. Do you think he's going to blow the whistle on anybody? I don't think so. What do you think Mr. Mueller is all about? Him and his anti-Trump, pro-Hillary supporting gotcha men. What do you think that this is all about? Jeff Sessions cannot be this stupid. He should be launching investigations right now into the Clinton Foundation. He should be looking into the Russian collusion with the Clintons and the Podestas and Mr. Gustra and all their friends. He should be looking into what really happened in the Seth Rich murder. He should be looking into those DNC and DCC computers servers. He should be investigating whether or not there's even a Russian hacking story at all, or if it was a leak by Seth Rich. He should be looking into the corrupt dealings of Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the Democratic National Committee. He should certainly be looking into, if not filing charges against James Comey for leaking classified information. But he's doing none of it. Doesn't appear. He's a nice guy. Oh, he's a hell of a nice guy. Problem is, folks, these are serious people. This is a serious fight. This is a serious battle. These people want to take down the president. They want to take him down. He needs people around him who will fight. And Jeff Sessions, I just don't think he's I don't think he's got it. I don't think he's going to find it. It's too nice. Too easy. He can't play that way with these people. They should be on full-blown offense right now. Hillary Clinton, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, this whole group that we know of, the unmasking. What the hell's he waiting for? We know that Susan Rice unmasked names. We know that Samantha Power somehow was involved in maybe asking. We know that Mr. Brennan was involved in domestic intelligence in the CIA. We know about all the shady dealings with the leaked memos. It appears that Mr. Comey was doing a lot more leaking than just what he admitted to. But even what he admitted to is a crime. But we hear nothing. We don't hear about any special prosecutors being by Sessions to look into any of these matters. No, because they're too busy playing defense from the bullshit that's being dropped on them when the real crimes are going unprosecuted. And right now, Trump and Sessions should have all these Democrats. He should have all of them lawyering up and scared shitless for what's coming their way. But instead, he's allowing the president to stay on defense when he should be in full-blown offense. It's extraordinary. I mean, I don't know what to say. It just, it's frustrating. Very, very frustrating. If I was Attorney General, man, if I was Attorney General, I would have already appointed a special prosecutor. I would have already filed criminal charges against Comey. Right after the hearings, I would have filed the charges. Samantha Power, Rice, Jarrett, Rhodes, Lynch, Clintons, they would already all be in front of a grand jury explaining themselves. The Clinton Foundation, he doesn't even have to do the work. There's been plenty of other people that have already done the legwork on the Clinton Foundation. We know exactly what was going on in the Clinton Foundation. I just told you yesterday about another story that's going on with the Bangladesh. Another pay-for-play thing. Hillary using the State Department and the IRS to threaten someone to drop charges of a foreign government because they were big donors to the Clinton Foundation. I mean, the corruption is just incredible. It's overwhelming. It's everywhere. You can't even ignore it. How can Jeff Sessions sit there as Attorney General and not be moving on any of this stuff while allowing his president to be under this complete attack? And now he's allowing this prosecutor, Mueller, who's best friends with Comey, who's part of the deep state, who's appointing a bunch of prosecutors and investigators around him who are all pro-Hillary Clinton donors, who are all anti-Trumpers, to investigate Trump some more. And what's Jeff Sessions doing? He's allowing it to happen. He could fire Mr. Mueller, and he should. He's got a conflict of interest. There's a conflict of interest. You can't have Mr. Mueller investigating one of his best friends. All of his best friends. The Clintons. The DNC. The Swamp Monsters. Comey. The whole damn crew. All good buddies. This guy's an inside player. I'm telling you, this thing stinks. This is a setup. This is a setup. Sessions, he can't be this naive. And he's not, he's not getting it done, my friends. He's not getting it done. And I can only hope that Sessions is maybe a good friend of Donald Trump. He's obviously supported him. I don't think Sessions is a bad guy. But I just don't think he's the right man for the right time that we're dealing with. And I certainly hope. I think Trump knows this, and if I was advising Donald Trump, I would tell him tomorrow morning to call Jeff Sessions in his office, and not in a mean way, or anything, but fire him, and replace him with somebody who's got the guts and the fight in them to do the right thing, someone who's at least aware of what is going on and what the end game is here, exactly what's happening. What the hell's he waiting for? I think you got to fire Sessions. First you have him fire Mueller, and then you fire him. That's what you do. And then you bring in an Attorney General who will fight. I'm telling you, what needs to happen. Alrighty? So appreciate y'all tuning in. It's TowerGate for, what is today? Oh, who knows? I think it's like the 12th or something. It's Tuesday. It's TowerGate. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow to follow up on some more. See what shoe drops next. Alrighty, you guys. Bye.